Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, Chapter 12. When I came out of the subway, Lenox Avenue seemed to careen away from me at a drunken angle, and I focused upon the teetering scene with wild infant's eyes, my head throbbing. Two huge women with spoiled cream complexions seemed to struggle with their massive bodies as they came past, their flowered hips trembling like threatening flames. Out across the walk before me, they moved, and a bright orange slant of sun seemed to boil up, and I saw myself going down, my legs watery beneath me, but my head clear, too clear, recording the crowd swerving around me. Legs, feet, eyes, hands, bent knees, scuffed shoes, teethy-eyed excitement, and some moving on unhalting. And the big dark woman saying, "Boy, is you all right? What's wrong?" in a husky-voiced contralto, and me saying, "I'm all right, just weak," and trying to stand, and her saying, "Why don't y'all stand back and let the man breathe? Stand back there, y'all," and now echoed by an official tone, "Keep moving, break it up," and she on one side and a man on the other, helping me to stand, and the policeman saying, "Are you all right?" and me answering, "Yes, I just felt weak, must have fainted, but all right now," and him ordering the crowd to move on, and the others moving on except the man and woman, and him saying, "You sure you okay, Daddy?" and me nodding yes, and her saying, "Where you live, son, somewhere around here?" and me telling her men's house, and her looking at me shaking her head, saying, men's house, shucks, that ain't no place for nobody in your condition, what's weak and needs a woman to keep an eye on you a while," and me saying, "But I'll be all right now," and her, "Maybe you will and maybe you won't. I live just up the street and round the corner. You better come on round and rest till you feel stronger. I'll phone men's house and tell 'em where you at." And me too tired to resist, and already she had one arm and was instructing the fellow to take the other, and we went, me between them, inwardly rejecting and yet accepting her bossing, hearing, "You take it easy, I'll take care of you like I done a heap of others. My name's Mary Rambo, everybody knows me around this part of Harlem. You heard of me, ain't you?" And the fellow saying, "Sure, I'm Jenny Jackson's boy. You know I know you, Miss Mary." And her saying, "Jenny Jackson, why, I should say you do know me, and I know you Ralston. And your mama got 2 more children, boy named Flint and gal named Laura Jean. I should say I know you. Me and your mama and your papa used to," and me saying, "I'm all right now, really all right." And her saying, "And looking like that, you must be worse off even than you look," and pulling me now, saying, "Here's my house right here. Help me get 'em up the steps and inside. You needn't worry, son. I ain't never laid eyes on you before, and it ain't my business, and I don't care what you think about me, but you weak and can't hardly walk and all, and you look what's more like you hungry. So just come on and let me do something for you, like I hope you'd do something for old Mary in case she needed it. It ain't costing you a penny, and I don't want to get in your business. I just want you to lay down till you're rested, and then you can go." And the fellow taking it up, saying, "You in good hands, Daddy. Miss Mary always helping somebody, and you need some help, 'cause here you black as me and white as a sheet, as the old fays would say. Watch these steps." And going up some steps and then some more, growing weaker, and the 2 warm around me on each side of me, and then inside a cool dark room, hearing, "Here's the bed, lie 'em down there now, that's it. Ralston, now put his legs up, never mind the cover, that's it. Now go out there in the kitchen and pour him a glass of water. You'll find a bottle in the icebox." And him going and her placing another pillow beneath my head, saying, "Now you'll be better, and when you get all right, you'll know how bad a shape you been in. Here, now take a sip of this water." And me drinking and seeing her worn brown fingers holding the bright glass, and a feeling of old, almost forgotten relief coming over me, and thinking in echo of her words, "If I don't think I'm sinking, look what a hole I'm in," and then the soft, cool splash of sleep. I saw her across the room when I awoke, reading a newspaper, her glasses low across the bridge of her nose, as she stared at the page intently. Then I realized that though the glasses still slanted down, the eyes were no longer focused on the page, but on my face, and lighting with a slow smile. "How you feel now?" she said. "Much better. I thought you would be, and you'd be even better after you have a cup of soup I got for you in the kitchen. You slept a good long time." "Did I?" I said. "What time is it?" "It's about 10 o'clock. "And from the way you slept, I suspect all you needed was some rest. No, don't get up yet. You got to drink your soup. Then you can go," she said, leaving. She returned with a bowl in a plate. "This here'll fix you up," she said. "You don't get this kind of service up there at Men's House, do you? Now you just sit there and take your time. I ain't got nothing to do but read the paper, and I like company. You have to make time in the morning?" "No, I've been sick," I said, "but I have to look for a job." "I knowed you wasn't well. Why you try to hide it?" "I didn't want to be trouble to anyone," I said. "Everybody has to be trouble to somebody, and you just come from the hospital, too." I looked up. She sat in the rocking chair, bent forward, her arms folded at ease across her aproned lap. Had she searched my pockets? "How did you know that?" I said. "There you go, getting suspicious," she said sternly. "That's what's wrong with the world today. Don't nobody trust nobody. I can smell that hospital smell on you, son. You got enough ether in those clothes to put to sleep a dog." I couldn't remember telling you that I had been in the hospital. "No, and you didn't have to. I smelled that out. You got people here in the city?" "No, ma'am," I said. "They're down south. I came up here to work so I could go to school, and I got sick." "Now, ain't that too bad? But you'll make out all right. What you plan to make out of yourself?" "I don't know now. I came here wanting to be an educator. Now, I don't know." "So what's wrong with being an educator?" I thought about it while sipping the good hot soup. "Nothing, I suppose. I just think I'd like to do something else." "Well, whatever it is, I hope it's something that's a credit to the race." "I hope so," I said. "Don't hope, make it that way." I looked at her, thinking of what I'd tried to do, and of where it had gotten me, seeing her heavy, composed figure before me. "It's you young folks what's going to make the changes," she said. "Y'all's the ones. You got to lead, and you got to fight, and move us all on up a little higher. And I tell you something else, it's the ones from the south that's got to do it. Them what knows the fire and ain't forgot how it burns. Up here, too many forgets. They finds a place for themselves, and forgets the ones on the bottom. Oh, heap of them talks about doing things, but they done really forgot. No, it's you young ones what has to remember and take the lead." "Yes," I said. "And you have to take care of yourself, son. Don't let this Harlem get you. I'm in New York, but New York ain't in me. Understand what I mean? Don't get corrupted." "I won't. I'll be too busy." "All right now, you looks to me like you might make something out of yourself, so you be careful." I got up to go, watching her raise herself out of her chair and come with me to the door. "You ever decide you want a room somewhere beside Men's House, try me," she said. "The rent's reasonable." "I'll remember that," I said. I was to remember sooner than I had thought. The moment I entered the bright, buzzing lobby of Men's House, I was overcome by a sense of alienation and hostility. My overalls were causing stares, and I knew that I could live there no longer, that phase of my life was past. The lobby was the meeting place for various groups still caught up in the illusions that had just been boomeranged out of my head. College boys working to return to school down south, older advocates of racial progress with utopian schemes for building black business empires, preachers ordained by no authority except their own, without church or congregation, without bread or wine, body or blood, the community leaders without followers, old men of 60 or more still caught up in post-Civil War dreams of freedom within segregation, the pathetic ones who possessed nothing beyond their dreams of being gentlemen, who held small jobs or drew small pensions, and all pretending to be engaged in some vast though obscure enterprise, who affected the pseudo-courtly manners of certain Southern congressmen, and bowed and nodded as they passed, like senile old roosters in a barnyard. The younger crowd, for whom I now felt a contempt, such as only a disillusioned dreamer feels for those still unaware that they dream. The business students from Southern colleges, for whom business was a vague, abstract game with rules as obsolete as Noah's Ark, but who yet were drunk on finance. Yes, and that older group with similar aspirations, the fundamentalists, the actors who sought to achieve the status of brokers through imagination alone, a group of janitors and messengers who spent most of their wages on clothing such as was fashionable among Wall Street brokers, with their Brooks Brothers suits and bowler hats, English umbrellas, black calfskin shoes and yellow gloves, with their orthodox and passionate argument as to what was the correct tie to wear with what shirt, what shade of gray was correct for spats, and what would the Prince of Wales wear at a certain seasonal event, should field glasses be slung from the right or from the left shoulder, who never read the financial pages, though they purchased the Wall Street Journal religiously, and carried it beneath the left elbow, pressed firm against the body, and grasped in the left hand, always manicured and gloved, fair weather or foul, with an easy precision. Oh, they had style, while the other hand whipped a tightly rolled umbrella back and forth at a calculated angle. with their Hamburgs and Chesterfields, their polo coats and Tyrolean hats, worn strictly as fashion demanded. I could feel their eyes, saw them all, and saw too the time when they would know that my prospects were ended, and saw already the contempt they'd feel for me, a college man who had lost his prospects and pride. I could see it all, and I knew that even the officials and the older men would despise me as though, somehow, in losing my place in Bledsoe's world, I had betrayed them. I saw it as they looked at my overalls. I had started toward the elevator when I heard the voice raised in laughter, and turned to see him holding forth to a group in the lobby chairs, and saw the rolls of fat behind the wrinkled, high-domed, close-cut head, and I was certain that it was he, and stooped without thought, and lifted it shining, full and foul, and moved forward 2 long steps, dumping its great brown transparent splash upon the head, worn too late by someone across the room. And too late for me to see that it was not Bledsoe, but a preacher, a prominent Baptist, who shot up wide-eyed with disbelief and outrage, and I shot around and out of the lobby before anyone could think to stop me. No one followed me, and I wandered the streets amazed at my own action. Later it began to rain, and I sneaked back near Men's house, and persuaded an amused porter to slip my things out to me. I learned that I had been barred from the building for 99 years and a day. "You might not can come back, man," the porter said, "but after what you did, I swear, they never will stop talking about you. You really baptized old Riv." So that same night I went back to Mary's, where I lived in a small but comfortable room until the ice came. It was a period of quietness. I paid my way with my compensation money, and found living with her pleasant, except for her constant talk about leadership and responsibility. And even this was not too bad as long as I could pay my way. It was, however, a small compensation, and when after several months my money ran out, and I was looking again for a job, I found her exceedingly irritating to listen to. Still, she never dunned me, and was as generous with her servings of food during mealtime as ever. "It's just hard times you going through," she'd say. "Everybody worth his salt has his hard times, and when you get to be somebody, you'll see these here very same hard times helped you a heap." I didn't see it that way. I had lost my sense of direction. I spent my time, when not looking for work, in my room, where I read countless books from the library. Sometimes, when there was still money, or when I had earned a few dollars waiting table, I'd eat out and wander the streets until late at night. Other than Mary, I had no friends and desired none, nor did I think of Mary as a friend. She was something more, a force, a stable, familiar force, like something out of my past, which kept me from whirling off into some unknown which I dared not face. It was a most painful position, for at the same time Mary reminded me constantly that something was expected of me, some act of leadership, some newsworthy achievement, and I was torn between resenting her for it and loving her for the nebulous hope she kept alive. I had no doubt that I could do something, but what and how? I had no contacts, and I believed in nothing. And the obsession with my identity, which I had developed in the factory hospital, returned with a vengeance. Who was I? How had I come to be? Certainly I couldn't help being different from when I left the campus, but now a new, painful, contradictory voice had grown up within me, and between its demands for revengeful action and Mary's silent pressure, I throbbed with guilt and puzzlement. I wanted peace and quiet, tranquility, but was too much aboil inside. Somewhere beneath the load of the emotion-freezing ice which my life had conditioned my brain to produce, a spot of black anger glowed and threw off a hot red light of such intensity that had Lord Kelvin known of its existence, he would have had to revise his measurements. A remote explosion had occurred somewhere, perhaps back at Emerson's, or that night in Bledsoe's office, and it had caused the ice cap to melt and shift the slightest bit, but that bit, the fraction, was irrevocable. Coming to New York had perhaps been an unconscious attempt to keep the old freezing unit going, but it hadn't worked. Hot water had gotten into its coils, only a drop perhaps, but that drop was the first wave of the deluge. One moment I believed I was dedicated, willing to lie on the blazing coals, do anything to attain a position on the campus. Then snap, it was done with, finished, through. Now there was only the problem of forgetting it. If only all the contradictory voices shouting inside my head would calm down and sing a song in unison, whatever it was, I wouldn't care as long as they sang without dissonance. Yes, and avoided the uncertain extremes of the scale. But there was no relief. I was wild with resentment, but too much under self-control, that frozen virtue, that freezing vice. And the more resentful I became, the more my old urge to make speeches returned. While walking along the streets, words would spill from my lips, in a mumble over which I had little control. I became afraid of what I might do. All things were indeed awash in my mind. I longed for home. And while the ice was melting to form a flood, in which I threatened to drown, I awoke one afternoon to find that my first northern winter had set.